This doorstop of a book is it's a new and selected poem, so it means there's 90 poems in it from 5 previous books, and there's 41 poems from that are new. So I'll read a few of the new ones, I'll just launch into this one. This is called Turpentine. Sometime try forgetting the roar of melted glacier falling over stone toward whispering cities in the basin, or a wad of paper flaring in an ashtray, or in the hearth, the woods, the ash level rushing to meet flame beneath the teepee made of sticks, the wind's language launched at heaven. Sometime try forgetting the leg as it broke, quiet knuckle, or the melon thump that day a speeding biker died into the curb, or the silence all around him, and home. Sometime smell, sometime taste the last bite of fish and watch how it leaves you each time you swallow wine or breathe. What if her hand on your hand, still warm and floating only half its weight now all these years since the day? What if that weight dissolved fast as the taste of herbs on carrots? What if the eye, having called it to mind, had descended away for good, her hand banished to the place memory never reaches again? His voice calls you to the creek, sage smell like turpentine and high desert. Then the small tug from the world underwater, the reeling, the flashing coming your way, its dance across royals, its breading each side of itself on the sand. Sometime try forgetting what you know. So one of the places that I lived in when I lived in Los Angeles, it had a formal dining room, which had its own doors that that closed and were closed most of the time. And inside, were the mahogany hutches and the pictures of the old, the European grandmothers and great grandfathers, and so. When it opened up and when it was full of life, of course, was on the high holidays when we had lots of people over. So this is sort of, a little meditation on that place, that dining room. Old country portraits. My lost sister used to try the trick with the tablecloth, waiting until the wine had been poured, the gravy boat filled, before snapping the linen her way, smug as a matador, staring down silver and crystal that would dare move, paying no mind to the ancestor gloom gliding across the wallpaper like clouds of a disapproving front. No hutch or bureau spared, no lost sister sure the trick would work this time, all those she loved in another room, nibbling saltines, or in the kitchen plating the last of the roast beef. How amazed they would be to be called to the mahogany room for supper, to find something missing, something beautiful finally, they could never explain. The wine twittering in its half globes, candles aflutter, each thing in its place, or so it seemed then, even though their lives had changed for good. The truth is, you came to me on a short boat from a far island. You came down the hill out of larch, along the creek we both drink from. You rose out of the green coil of fern, tip of the sand dune blowing lines of itself away. If you hadn't said my name, I wouldn't have looked at your face. If I hadn't looked, I wouldn't have turned to glass on your desert floor, moss under your quiet violin, trout over your shallows, vole racing across ancient duff ahead of the owl's widening shadow. I wouldn't have known the oar on the forest floor points west, having turned as wood will do, mimicking iron, toward an empty boat, a sea. So this is for my friend John the physicist. This is a poem about the Higgs boson, except it disappears as a subject in about a nanosecond or less. So, yes. So it's called God Particles. They show up after a death, arranging a face on the shroud. They make the waterfall fall. They make the shine in Whitman's eye, the flies in orbit around the hungry. Under the Alps, they lose the recent race to protons. They make grilled peach halves over strawberry, the drizzle of honey. They make that hand, one finger over another. Under the Alps, they make the six-legged horse just over a rise, coming this way, bearing down. So some of the time when I was growing up, and I mean, later I moved to Montana, but some of the time when I was growing up, we stayed on Flathead Lake up in northwestern Montana. And for those of you that know where that is, it's about 40 miles from Glacier Park. And so, of course, when we had people visit us, they would all want to go to Glacier Park. And if that was Sunday, it would involve a long day of going to Mass and then going out to brunch and then driving, 150 miles around Glacier Park. But, it was beautiful. And the main highway, as some of you know, through the park is called Going to the Sun Highway, and that's the title of this poem. Without fear, we parked the car on the thin bulge beside the cliff and crossed to where the glacier filled our Mickey Mouse or elbow tap room pints, whatever we had brought to taste what came out of the sky 10, 100 years before. If it was Sunday, we'd gone to Mass in Kalispell, then brunched at the Jordan Cafe, where a waiter, regardless of group or size, memorized the order. We'd driven north through narrowing gorges to the park, then up the U-shaped valley on Going to the Sun, the long, slow string peppered with rockfall, slicked with melt toward Logan Pass. 50 years now, and the family can't remember grizzly prints or eagles plucking char from Lake McDonald, only the forgiven carload, dozy from the road, renewed by the body and blood of Christ, restored by breakfast, slaking its thirst in a field of scree, the water cold as we'd ever known, a taste simple as granite, the sun beating on us at 6,000 feet, and a waterfall being born under our shoes, crossing its first of four borders before it died 1,000 miles from there in the sea. Pacific Crest. The story of you came out of the lake to find the tree covered with initials. What does the spirit know, really, following its little song westward to the receding edge of Glacier? What could the eye follow into the folding stone, the thread of light lingering in mica, fire at the cool center of basalt? The woman became water again when the car and the house and the dog roaming in the yard all turned to her at the same time in order to grow larger than themselves. We wanted this all along. We wanted the phone ringing outside of history, the wind of our dance along the cliff edge where the old prophet stopped his singing. Say something, we said. Tell us the country your tongue came from and its manner of forests. Tell us the name of wind behind your eyes. Tell us what new star has named your fingertips already, what river they follow back to the billion-year-old heart. So I used to arrange readings at the place that I teach still, and you have a lot of downtime when you're driving somebody to dinner or you're driving back to the airport or whatever. And we had this really great visit by this guy, and we talked about everything, but he still threw me when he said, "Do you pray?" I don't talk about things like that with people, so this, so I didn't know what to say, yes, no, maybe, who knows? So
how fast was he driving?
I was driving, but this is the poem. This is in a way is his answer because I was speechless. When the other man asked him, did he pray? He kept driving, each storefront a shoulder-to-shoulder forest he couldn't see around. All those miles down the boulevard, numbers counting down by twos, and the field opening where the buildings end, and light settling over the lengthening eye, and wind across the tops of bluestem and the lives of insects, and all animals in the grass, even birds moving in their own ways under the sun. And on the horizon, something like his shadow walking, something small as a daytime star against the blue moving up and down over the far line of the earth.